All right, good evening. Welcome to Kivumbi 2017. This is KTN News. Wherever you're joining us from, be it in Kenya or across our borders, welcome to this specific episode. Now, of course, as always, this next 1 hour, we'll be focusing on young people. This is going to be Kenya's youngest parliament. And of course, tonight we'll be discussing that. Remember, we want to engage with you. So if you're on Twitter, jump online, use the hashtag Kivumbi 2017. And we're asking tonight, this is our Twitter poll question that we'll be engaging with you today. What do you think the key interest of young politicians in Kenya is? We're asking tonight, what do you think the key interest of young politicians in Kenya is? Is it for their career advancement? Is it leadership and service, money or fame, or just simply, I do not know, all right? So that is what we're asking tonight. And that's what the question, rather, the way you're choosing to engage our online audience. But of course, here in studio with Aseli and I is an amazing panel this evening. As always, I mean, it's Friday night. Allow me to introduce our panel that will be taking part in this discussion as we wait for more people to be coming. Closer to me is Shiro Ngigi, who is a business lady. Now, this lady is also an opinion shifter, especially on the digital platform, more specifically on Facebook. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And of course, next to Shiro is a man that every Kenyan got to know during this political period, MUTHIORA KARIARA, who is now the former DP candidate. It's so good to have you and still seeing you here. Karibu sana.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Right?
Yes.
And Aseli, who do you have on your end?
Nakwambia ni urembo tutupu tunaona hapa hivi, but beauty and brains combined, because udema alikuwa anataka kuwa senator. Nah, it's not a joke. Suzanne Silantoya, such a beautiful name. Karibu sana studio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming here on Kivumbi 2070. Allow me to just jump straight into this. This is going to be now Kenya's youngest parliament that we're seeing. Young Kenyans came out in large numbers and went and voted. I really want to hear your thoughts in regards to how that specific election period, how young people took it, both online and offline, because I'm sure, like all of us here, we were engaging online, but also offline. The sort of conversations that you are having within your circles, is it something that, you know, you can be proud to say of? And I'll begin with you, Silantoya, since you are running for, you know, the senator.
Yeah.
Sit here in Nairobi. What do you think?
Wow. It's very varied, actually. And mine, I speak from a perspective of just Nairobi, because that's where I did my campaign. And you'd find young people really enthusiastic about their parties or specific political leaders, and you'd find other young people who are completely aloof, people who don't even know probably when the elections were. And so it's very varied in terms of the opinions, but I really do feel like more young people are actually starting to get curious, because this is actually when we are now beginning to know exactly what it is that is going on. You know, maybe in the past, you know, you'd see political leaders as people who are far off, you don't know them,
right? And
so more young people actually trying to get into this space, more and more.
Sure. Do you think that young people need to be more active in terms of matters politics, or are we getting there? Do we need to do more? Because like she said, it's not, you know, not all young people really dive into politics, you know. It's one of those conversations we try and shy away from, but this time round there's a conversation happening.
I feel like we need to do more, but in a very different way than we are doing it now. Okay. I feel like we need to be a bit more organized in politics. We are now getting our voices heard, and I don't know about getting our voices heard. We're talking. Whether it's being heard or not is a whole other story. But we're now speaking a bit more. We're putting ourselves out there a bit more. But it's not the same as being effective in the things we say and do. And so it's definitely been a struggle even for me, because my platform is mostly online. And so it's been quite a struggle to get to the place where I realize that I am, you know, the humanity of Shiro and the politics of Shiro must be put into one place.
Right.
And we need to be organized in that sense that, you know, I feel like politics has not really been packaged to the young people as an everyday life sort of situation. And so politics hasn't come out as the humanity of your life. Like your very own self and your very own being human depends on politics a lot of times and being treated as such.
Right.
So we do need to be a bit more organized in the way we even say the things we say, not just in the way we fraternize, but even in the way we say the things we say.
Do you think that, now, especially now that you're online and the numbers that you talk to are online, that's your platform? We do a lot of talking as young people. What about offline? Do we take that same spirit offline? Do you think so? It's just a lot of keyboard warriors that we do online?
I have a problem with the term keyboard warriors. First of all, because we live in a country where our president chose to go on Facebook Live as opposed to a national debate. keyboard warriors is clearly no longer a thing. You know, he recognizes the value of the online platform, and whether people listen to him or not, you know, that's something to really think about. And we had, you know, this election, we actually had infographics from, you know, our online habits being taken into consideration, and tailor-made adverts and all these other things. And so keyboard warriors is slowly beginning to lose the term, the insult that it was, because people are realizing, oh wait, this is a thing, and it's a very important thing now.
Yora, ningependa kuuliza swali moja. Watu wanafikiria maybe politics yetu ya mayouth ni during elections. So life after elections, hebu tuambie vile kulienda. Hata silantoi sijui life after elections ilikuwaje.
Ukweli ni kwamba hiyo ni kasumba ambayo imekuwepo. But then currently watu wanafaa kubadilisha ambavyo wanafikiria na kuchanganua maneno. Manake vijana sasa hivi wamegundua kwamba ili maisha yao yasonge mbele wanahitaji viongozi ambao watakuwepo kipindi chote na wabakie kuwa waaminifu. Na mfano mzuri ni ukiangalia uchaguzi uliopita, kuna viongozi wachanga ambao walipewa nafasi. Na baada ya kutumikia vizuri, watu wamefanya nini? Wamewarejesha tena. Kwa mfano,
so, nakuuliza after politics, after elections, sorry, bado unacheza politics ama umedecide mazejo tutakam 10 after 5 years?
Sasa hivi kwangu lazima ni hold hao ambao wamechaguliwa accountable. Manake hapo nimeona kuna gap. We let them have so much space and leeway. So I feel I'm going to make sure that the leaders that were elected are accountable to the people and they remain true to their calling.
Silantoi, elections imekuwa kitu moja gwan sana, imekuwa kitu moja fiti, wase wamebambika, watu walipiga kura kama wako peaceful na stuff kama hiyo. Lakini saa ile ilifika time ya ku-announce results, wewe unasemaje? Do you feel like the nation is more divided than how it was before the elections and during the election period?
I think what happens after the election is always a reflection of what is always there. In fact, people will not fight just because of the elections. People will fight because of things that happen during the 5 years, and that's why they would find a reason to, it would spark on the election day, and so on the results day. And so there are a lot of things that we really need to fix as a country, because we can't keep talking about peace every 5 years. And so those are the issues that we need to address. We don't need to address how the elections are announced or how we vote. No, we need to address what our leaders do during those 5 years that affect our lives. And so that when it comes to the actual election day, we as the people are involved, we are informed as well, and so we react in a way that would be a manifestation of what has been going on. And so the issue is not election day. The issue is not even the results. The issue is what is happening in those 5 years, which is actually about resources. It's just mainly how people have been deprived of a lot of things. And even just the narrative that has been propagated by our leaders for the longest time. And so people react because of those things, not necessarily because of the election. The election is just a trigger. Yeah.
Kuna kitu moja, one of the guests alikuwa hapa hivi earlier on, she's a young politician. Alikuwa anatuambia young politicians hawajapata hiyo respect. So because kwa young, ukienda kuvai for a position kama women rep ama unataka kuwa senator, wanasema ai umeolewa kwanza, as in other factors determine your position. Hebu niambie, do you think it's true?
I think it's true, and I think it's sad that happens, because there's they keep giving us proverbs and they say that youth is wasted on the young. Sometimes I feel like experience is wasted on the old, because we now have a crop of older politicians who have really done nothing for us, and they've been there for 30 years, and you look at them and like, your 30-year CV is trash, for lack of a better word. So please, let someone who's younger, with a bit more energy maybe, fresher ideas probably, a little bit of sight, seeing that things are going wrong.
Whatever you see when standing on a tree, I'm telling you, on standing on a tree, an old man sees while sitting. So are you trying to dispute that?
Yes, in this country, because we've had older politicians and they clearly haven't been seen.
Do you
so
think
either you open your eyes or you just stand.
Do you think
like
the young
rest
politicians can be game changers?
Yes.
The Susans and the Muthioras.
I very honestly believe that they can be game changers. First of all, this is the generation that has grown up with neighbors who are not of the same tribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a huge thing. Because you find we have the narrative that Kenyans are tribal and Kenyans are tribal and Kenyans are tribal. And you only hear the narrative that Kenyans are tribal when we are nearing elections. And that is because the older politicians now have things to say about come back me up because you're from my tribe. We're not tribal. We have 5 men from each tribe that are tribal that decide that the rest of us are. We are not. And so younger politicians actually bring in the idea that I grew up next to a Luo neighbor and a cow shopkeeper and this, that, and the other. So tribe ni wewe mzee.
Okay. So do you think our generation can then be the ones to change that conversation?
100%. We are the generation to change the conversation.
MUTHIORA?
Yes, and I'll actually point out something that Susan said here. You see, she's packaged whatever violence we saw after the elections as not as a reflection of what's lying beneath, what the young people are going through. If you listen to what the older crop of politicians say, they merely preach peace. They're not addressing themselves to the problem. We had an election. There were winners, there were losers. People celebrate in different ways. Others mourn in different ways. If I want to go and burn a tire on a road, and the road at that particular time is not in use because that's the mood at that particular time, please allow me, because at the same time you're letting others celebrate on another road somewhere else.
But
now a young person,
but do we have the muscle? Kwa sababu kitu moja mimi naona tu watu wanafanya politics, watu wako very vigilant, wako na energy hiyo time ya elections peke yake. Hizi siku zingine ni mimi napenda tu kusikiza reggae na blues, but they don't pretty much have avenues where they come, sit down, wana discuss vitu zenye zina affect. Sasa ile one year to elections ndio unaona watu wanaanza kufikiria political philosophies, ndio watu wanaanza kufikiria man, sasa ni time elections, sasa ni time yetu kama youth kukuwa leaders. Mnaonaje?
Okay, that's true to an extent, but the space is getting bigger. We've had youthful leaders, like for instance, take Sakaja. And with all due respect, you ran a good race, but then his track record in the last 5 years is what was used to give him the opportunity to lead Nairobi. Now, you look at other leaders such as Martha Wangari, who is now the MP for Gilgil, and some other young leaders. Their track record has showed that we need to give the youth more space. And you see, like we're here today because of that kind of narrative. We are talking leadership. This was not happening before, but right now it's happening. So that's a step
you are shaking
forward.
your head.
Yes, because I think oppression is a denial of opportunities. And one of the things, the closer you get to slavery, the less opportunities you have.
Hallelujah.
And one of the things we don't realize about this country is that the people who are now telling us that we are too young to lead were in their 20s when they were being found out. These Railas who are telling you you're suddenly too young to lead, how old was he when he first made his hit in politics? How old was his own father when he first made his hit in politics? Akina Tomboya, when they were being told they can't be president because they are too young. How old were those men and women, of the time? So I feel like this is a generation that has refused to recognize that we are in our 70s. We've done it. Can someone else just take this?
But allow me to change the gear here a little bit. Let's say you do go into the parliament, and we're going to see this as one of Kenya's youngest parliament ever. What happens is that some of them go, and they keep quiet, and we'll hear about them 5 years down the line. Somehow the system sucks them in, and you thought, hey, here you are, a young person. I thought you were going to bring about change. I thought you were going to do X, Y, Z. Why should Kenyans be excited about young leaders?
Opportunities and oppression. If there's one of you, there's only so much you can do.
All right.
Okay? And I am excited to find a youthful parliament like we have today, because now I feel like we're going back to the energy that we had. And it's not to say that the old have nothing to contribute, although really not the old, the older, they really aren't really old. People just grow older. But the older people have a lot to contribute. And I feel like if we were to drop our egos on both sides and look at the situation and say, okay, we have a country that we need to live better for everybody. How do we work this out? I've been in politics for maybe 20 years. You've been in politics for 2 years. Let's have this. You have what you know has been missing for 20 years. I have what I know has worked for 20 years. Let's talk about the things the in-betweens of this place.
Susan, what do you think? The issue of young people being sucked in by the system, and here we are thinking you'd bring about change.
you know, you have to look at it from a perspective of who is this young person. It's not just about them being young. And so you can find a young person who's grown up knowing that, you know, impunity is fine, corruption is okay. And then that person finds their way into parliament. Of course, there's no difference that person is going to make just because they are a young person. They already have a system in which they ascribe to. And so even this young parliament, I'm waiting to see, because many young people who are now involved in politics are just basically products of what we are fighting against, what we need to change in our country. And so we have to, even as we choose young people, we need to choose young people who are actually responsible, people who will actually do what they need to do for us to have a difference in our country. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Fantastic. Back in 2013, we saw President Barack Obama, then U.S. President Barack Obama, sort of send his message to Kenyans when we were going for our very first election under the new constitution. And what he says, the message clearly, is something that we can still relate to today. So talk about Throwback Thursday, in this case Friday, but take a look at what he had to say.
After the turmoil of 5 years ago, you've worked to rebuild communities, reform institutions, and pass a new constitution. Now Kenya must take the next step in March with the first national elections under your new constitution. We all know what makes for successful elections. Kenya must reject intimidation and violence and allow a free and fair vote. Kenyans must resolve disputes in the courts, not in the streets. Above all, the people of Kenya must come together before and after the election to carry on the work of building your country. The choice of who will lead Kenya is up to the Kenyan people. Then Kenya can move forward towards prosperity and opportunity that unleashes the extraordinary talents of your people, especially young people.
Okay, so let's take a break here on Kivumbi 2017. But before we do so, we want to remind you of our Twitter poll question this evening. And that is, what do you think the key interest of young politicians in Kenya is? What do you think their core mandate or their core reason, their intention to join politics is? Is it because of their career development? Is it money and fame? Is it leadership and service towards Kenyans and younger people? Or simply, I do not know? That's what we're asking you tonight. What do you think the key interest of young politicians in Kenya is? Would really love to hear from you. So make sure you're using the hashtag Kivumbi 2017. And when we come back, this conversation is just going to get even better. And we'll take a look at some of your feedback. Don't go too far. This is Kivumbi 2017 on KTN News. Stay with us.